boss, a photographer, vanished after an exhibit. Her diary, found in the town archives, spoke of a lens in the dark capturing her across time, like in Japanese yokai tales where spirits inhabited photos, stealing identities. A Quora thread on time-displaced images linked to similar cases, people appearing in photos before their birth, tied to cursed objects. One evening, a new photo appeared. Me, in a wedding dress, beside a faceless man, dated 1890. I'm unmarried. The album vibrated, whispering, "Join us, Nora." I slammed it shut, but laughter echoed mine, but cruel. Max barked at the attic hatch, which rattled as if something pushed from inside. Drawing from the burned photo creepypasta, where destroying cursed images unleashed horrors, I hesitated to burn it, fearing release. The climax came on a stormy night. Thunder shook the house as the album flipped open on its own, pages rapid-firing through decades, me in every era, always watching the camera. A figure materialized me, but pale, eyes voids, smiling too wide. "We're the same," she hissed, voice a chorus of trapped souls. "The album keeps us." Her touch was ice, draining warmth. Visions flashed. Lila's ritual, capturing spirits in a cursed camera, binding them to the album, like African folklore of ancestral ghosts trapped in objects. I grabbed salt from paranormal forums, circling the album. "Leave me!" I shouted, setting it ablaze. The figure shrieked, dissolving into smoke, but not before clawing my arm scars, forming a lens shape. The house stilled, but mirrors flicker my face, then hers, merging. I fled Ashwick, but photos appear on my phone, in emails me in eras I never lived. Whispers call, "You're framed." In Ashwick, albums hold faces that shouldn't be. If you find yourself in an old photo, burn it before it captures you forever. The horror lingered. In my new Boston apartment, shadows danced in mirrors, forming my shape but with hollow eyes. Max refused to sleep near reflective surfaces, growling at night. A new photo arrived by mail, no sender, postmarked 1900 from Ashwick, me screaming in a dark room. The back read, "You can't burn time." I contacted a local historian, Mr. Hale, who paled at the story. "Lila Voss wasn't alone," he whispered. Her camera was cursed, stole souls across generations. He showed me town records. Others vanished after finding themselves in photos, like a TikTok tale of a woman discovering her face in a 1920 seconds album, followed by hauntings. Drawing from The Picture of Dorian Gray, where a portrait bore the soul's sins, I feared the album was my tether to something eternal. Nights grew worse, my phone glitched, displaying selfies I never took me in sepia, eyes void. Calls came from unknown numbers. My voice, begging, "Don't look away." Mia visited, saw the photos, and screamed her reflection, showed Lila's face. That night, Mia vanished, her phone sending me a photo. Her in 1910 beside me, both smiling. Desperate, I returned to Ashwick, album ashes in hand. The house was sealed, but whispers beckoned from the attic. Inside, a new album waited, open to a photo of me burning the first dated tomorrow. "You're ours," the chorus hissed. The mirror showed dozens of me's from every era clawing to escape. I confronted the entity Lila's form, lens embedded in her chest like a heart. "The camera saw you before you were born," she rasped. Fight ensued. I smashed the mirror, shards cutting my hands, blood forming dates 1890, 1923, 2025. The entity dissolved, but not before whispering, "You're in the frame forever." Back in Boston, peace is fleeting. Photos appear in drawers me in eras unborn. Max stares at mirrors, whining. My reflection blinks when I don't. Ashwick's curse spreads friends, find old albums with their faces. If you see yourself in a photo you never took, destroy it. But it's already too late. Deeper dread unfolded. From Ballen's YouTube, a story of a cursed camera trapping souls in eternal loops. The album was a nexus, like Lovecraft's cosmic artifacts, binding lives across time. My research uncovered global myths. Japanese obake in photos, stealing identities, African spirits in ancestral images, demanding worship. Mia's body was found in Ashwick, smiling in an old photo frame dated 1800s. I joined a paranormal forum, others reported similar albums, faces appearing where none should. One user vanished after posting, "It's me in 1920, I'm next." Final stand. I burned every mirror in my apartment, salt circling me. The entity appeared me, but decayed, lens eyes glowing. "You're framed." It laughed. I chanted banishment from occult texts, scattering ashes. It dissolved, screaming dates, future ones. But my camera rolls fill with photos me in eras yet to come. Whispers, "Look at the frame." I'm trapped, my face in every old album. If you find one, don't look. You might see yourself unborn, but waiting. The curse wasn't just Lila's. From Poe's tales of premature burial, I learned she was buried alive, her soul trapped in the camera's first photo. The album rewrote reality, inserting victims into history. Now I develop photos in my sleep me, in wars, plagues, futures. Friends receive albums with my face, calling their names. I'm the vessel framing others. In Ashwick, check old photos. If you're in one, unborn, you're already hers. Someone wrote on my bedroom wall, "In the small, fog-laden town of Greystone, Maine, where ancient pines cast long shadows and whispers of old tragedies lingered in the air, my new home on Cedar Lane was supposed to be a sanctuary." I, Emma Carter, a 31-year-old illustrator, had moved here in the fall of 2025, seeking solitude after a draining divorce. The house was a century-old cottage, its clapboard exterior weathered but charming, bought at a price too good to question. The realtor, a nervous woman with darting eyes, rushed through the paperwork, muttering about eager sellers but offering no details. Locals at the corner store avoided my gaze when I mentioned the address, one old man whispering, "That place has stories." I brushed it off as small-town folklore, eager to start anew with my cat, Shadow by my side. The first week was uneventful, filled with unpacking and sketching in the cozy living room, but Shadow acted strange, pacing the hallway, hissing at the door to my bedroom, a small room with faded floral wallpaper and a single window overlooking the misty backyard. One night, as rain pelted the roof, I woke at 3 a.m. to a faint scratching sound, like nails on plaster. Shadow was at the foot of my bed, fur bristled, staring at the wall opposite. My flashlight beam caught it, words scrawled in jagged crimson letters. "Emma, I see you." My heart stopped. The wall had been pristine when I went to sleep. I bolted upright, pulse racing. The words looked wet, as if painted in blood, but smelled of rust and earth. I touched them dry, embedded in the plaster, like they'd always been there. Shadow yowled, refusing to approach. Drawing from a Reddit r divided by no sleep post, words on my wall, where a tenant found messages predicting their death, I wondered if it was a prank. But the house was locked, no signs of entry, no footprints, no smudges, just the eerie text. I scrubbed the wall with bleach, the words fading but leaving faint outlines. Sleep evaded me. Shadow stayed glued to my side, avoiding the bedroom. The next night, new words appeared. "I'm inside." Panic surged. I called my friend Lila, a paranormal enthusiast, who suggested a camera. I set up a cheap webcam aimed at the wall. At 2:47 a.m., the feed glitched static, then a shadow moving too tall, too thin, with fingers like claws dragging across the wall. No words appeared, but the air turned heavy, like breathing through fog. Morning revealed fresh text. "You can't hide." I tore at the wallpaper, exposing plaster scratched with older messages. Mary 1973, James 1942 names of past residents, all in the same jagged script. Research online uncovered Greystone's dark history. The house was built in 1890 by a recluse, Elias Gray, who vanished after his wife's suicide. A Quora thread on haunted houses mentioned wall writers, entities tied to homes, scrawling warnings like the African Tokolosha, leaving marks to claim victims. A YouTube video, True Horror: The Writing on the Wall, told of a family fleeing a house where messages predicted deaths. Lila arrived, sage in hand, but the smoke curled toward the wall, forming a face eyeless, mouth agape. "It's awake," she whispered, citing a creepypasta tale where a wall spirit fed on fear. That night, the camera caught it, a figure, translucent, scrawling with a finger that bled shadows. Shadow hissed, clawing the air. The words shifted. "Emma, join me." Desperate, I dug into town records. Elias's wife, Abigail, hadn't killed herself. She was walled up, alive, her screams muffled, as in Poe's The Cask of Amontillado. Her diary, found in the library archives, spoke of the thing in the walls she summoned during a ritual, binding it to the house to curse Elias. It writes to claim, she warned. The climax came during a storm. Thunder masked the scratches as the wall pulsed, words forming faster. "Now, Emma." The figure emerged, Abigail's form, decayed, eyes voids, fingers dripping ink like blood. "You live in my house," she hissed, voice a chorus of trapped souls. Shadow lunged, claws sinking into her. She shrieked, recoiling. I poured salt from occult forums, chanting banishment. The wall cracked, swallowing her, words dissolving. Morning brought silence, but scars remained faint. Letters under new paint. I'm still here. Shadow watches the wall nightly. In Greystone, houses write names. If your walls whisper, don't read them. It's already inside, claiming you. The quiet didn't last. Days later, in my new apartment across town, Shadow began hissing at corners. I found faint scratches on the bathroom wall. "Emma, I follow." Panic returned. Lila's research uncovered more. A Medium article on cursed homes linked the entity to a Native American spirit, a wall walker that bound itself to dwellings, writing to trap souls. A TikTok horror story, The Writing in My Room, mirrored mine. A tenant found messages predicting their fate tied to a blood ritual gone wrong. I tore up the new apartment's walls, no messages, but mirrors reflected a shadow behind me, scrawling. Friends noticed my fear. Lila vanished after visiting, her phone sending a photo of words on her wall. Lila, mine. Police found no trace, but her diary echoed Abigail's. It writes my name. Nights grew worse. My sketches bled ink, forming Emma. The entity spoke through radio static. You can't move away. Inspired by the House of Leaves, where walls shifted to trap, my apartment felt smaller, doors leading back to the bedroom. Confrontation came in a dream or not. The wall opened, Abigail's form beckoning. Write with me. I refused, scattering salt, burning sage. She dissolved, but my reflection wrote independently. Joined, I woke, scars on my hands spelling her name. I fled to a motel, but walls there scratched faintly. Greystone's curse spreads, friends find words on their walls. If you see your name scrawled, burn the house. It's already claimed you. Deeper horrors emerged. From Ballen's YouTube, a tale of a family finding names carved in their home tied to a blood curse. The entity was a collective souls trapped by Abigail's ritual, writing to escape. My dreams showed them. Mary, James, others, faces in walls begging release. I returned to the cottage, salt and matches ready. The wall bled, words forming, "You're us." Abigail appeared, her form splitting into dozens past victims, all writing. I set the house ablaze, their screams echoing as flames consumed the words. But in my new place, mirrors write, Emma, shadow's gone, found dead, name scratched on his collar. I'm the vessel now, my sketches bleeding names of others. Global myths, Japanese yokai marking homes, Slavic domovoi scrawling curses. The house was a prison. Abigail, its warden, freed by my arrival. Final twist. My reflection writes alone, my hands moving without will. I'm writing this now, but it's her words. If your wall speaks your name, you're already hers. She came from the mirror, not the door. In the foggy town of Eldridge Hollow, where ancient oaks twisted like tormented souls and the air carried whispers of forgotten tragedies, the old Victorian house on Maple Lane had stood vacant for decades. Its windows were like empty eyes, staring blankly at passersby who crossed the street to avoid its gaze. Locals spoke in hushed tones of the Mirror House, a place where reflections lied and shadows had lives of their own. But for me, Lydia Grant, a 9-year-old artist fleeing a toxic relationship in the city, it was a bargain in the summer of 2025. The realtor, a twitchy man with sweat beading on his brow, rushed through the paperwork. Price to sell? He muttered, avoiding my questions about the previous owners. Just don't stare too long in the mirrors. I laughed it off as small-town superstition, much like the tales my grandmother told of Bloody Mary staring into a mirror at midnight, chanting her name thrice to summon a vengeful spirit. But as I unpacked boxes in the spacious living room, my cat, Whiskers, hissed at the hallway mirror, an ornate, full-length antique with a gilded frame carved with swirling vines that seemed to writhe in the light. "Silly kitty," I cooed, but a chill prickled my skin. The mirror reflected the room perfectly, too perfectly, the colors a shade darker, my face paler. That first night, sleep came fitfully. Thunder rumbled outside, rain lashing the windows. At 2 a.m., a soft knock echoed not from the door, but from inside the house. I sat up, heart pounding. Whiskers arched his back, staring at the bedroom door. The knocks continued 3 sharp raps, deliberate. I grabbed my phone's flashlight and crept downstairs. The front door was locked, no one outside. But in the hallway, the mirror fogged, as if breathed upon from within. A handprint appeared small, feminine, pressing against the glass from the other side. I wiped it away. But the fog returned, words forming. "Let me out." My breath caught. Drawing from a Reddit r divided by paranormal encounters thread I'd read years ago, where users shared terrifying mirror experiences, like seeing demonic reflections or entities stepping through, I backed away. Imagination, I whispered, but Whiskers yowled, clawing at the air. The next morning, the mirror was clear, but unease lingered. I covered it with a sheet, like in the YouTube video Scary Truth Behind Mirrors, by an exorcist warning of ghost portals. Work distracted me sketching illustrations for a children's book, but my drawings twisted. Happy faces turned sinister, eyes hollow. That evening, as I cooked, a whisper seeped from the covered mirror. "Lydia." My name, soft and pleading. Like the ghost in It Came In Through the Bathroom Mirror from Real Life Mag, haunting a childhood home. I tore off the sheet. The reflection showed not me, but a woman. Pale, with long dark hair and a tattered dress, her face blurred, but smiling faintly. She raised a hand, knocking 3 times on the glass from inside. Terror gripped me. The legend of the house surfaced in my mind from a Medium story, Scary Short Stories, The Mirror We Inherited, where an antique mirror brought a grandmother's spirit, terrorizing the family. I researched frantically. Town records revealed the previous owner, Eliza Voss, vanished in 1953 after inheriting the mirror from her grandmother. Her diary, digitized on a local history site, spoke of the girl in the glass who called her name, promising companionship but demanding entry. "She comes not from the door, but the mirror," Eliza wrote, echoing African folk tales of spirits using reflections as portals to possess the living. Nights blurred into dread. The woman appeared more often, closer each time, her smile widening, revealing teeth like shards. Whispers evolved. "Let me in, Lydia. It's cold here." Whiskers refused the hallway, hissing at shadows. One midnight, inspired by the Ghost in the Mirror game from Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, I faced her. "Who are you?" Her voice echoed in my skull. Your reflection, the one never born. The mirror pulsed, her hand pressing through the glass like water, cold fingers grazing my cheek. I screamed, smashing it with a lamp. Shards flew, each reflecting her face, laughing. The house shook, walls cracked as shadows poured out. Dozens of women, all me but decayed, eyes voids. We're the unborn. They chorused, inspired by the Dead Girl in My Mirror creepypasta, where a spectral child haunted reflections, stealing lives. Fight ensued. I salted the floor from occult forums, chanting banishment. They recoiled, dissolving back into shards. I burned the pieces, flames roaring blue. Peace fell, but scars remained faint. Handprints on my mirrors, whispers at midnight. Let me out. Eldridge Hollow's mirror house stands empty again. If you see a woman in your reflection who smiles when you don't, smash it. She comes from the mirror, not the door, and she's waiting to be born. A letter from the past. In the misty town of Eldridge Hollow, where fog clung to the hills like a perpetual veil and old houses whispered secrets from their creaking porches, Clara Voss moved into the Victorian relic on Birch Lane in the fall of 2025. At 32, she was a librarian fleeing the bustle of Boston, drawn to the house's charm and suspiciously low price. The realtor, a nervous man with darting eyes, rushed through the sale, muttering about eager sellers but evading questions about its history. Locals at the corner store gave her odd looks. "That place has letters," one old woman whispered. But no one elaborated. Clara dismissed it as small-town folklore, much like the tales her grandmother told of cursed missives that arrived from beyond the grave. Unpacking boxes in the cozy living room, she found an envelope slipped under the front door, yellowed, postmarked the 7th of October, 1923, addressed to Clara Voss, Birch Lane House, Eldridge Hollow. Her heart skipped. The handwriting was elegant, faded ink spelling her name perfectly. Inside, a single sheet. Dear Clara, welcome home. We've been waiting. Don't open the attic trunk. Yours from the past, Lydia. Lydia? Clara's research later revealed Lydia Voss, a woman who vanished in 1923 from this very house, her great-aunt, perhaps? The letter's date matched Lydia's disappearance as per town records. Drawing from the creepypasta, a letter from the previous homeowner, where cryptic notes warned of hidden horrors, Clara felt a chill but laughed it off. Coincidence, she muttered, tucking it away. That night, sleep came fitfully, thunder rumbled, rain lashing the windows. At 2 a.m., a whisper drifted from the attic. Clara, soft, feminine, like a sigh through the vents. Her cat, Whiskers, arched his back, hissing at the ceiling. The attic was locked, key missing. Inspired by the Reddit No Sleep series, 31 letters from the previous inhabitants, where daily notes revealed a house's dark past, Clara searched the next day. In a drawer, another letter postmarked 1924. You opened it, didn't you? Now it knows. Panic set in. The attic trunk, heavy and padlocked, rattled when she approached, prying it open with a crowbar. Dust billowed like smoke. Inside, more letters, all addressed to her, dated from 1923 to 1940, each warning of the echo that lived in the house, feeding on time. Lydia's final note, I wrote to warn you from your future. Burn them. The whispers grew. At night, they called her name, voices layering Lydia's, then hers, mirrors fogged, words appearing. From the past. Drawing from the Netflix series Letters from My Past, where a woman uncovers family secrets through time-displaced letters leading to madness, Clara felt reality warp. Photos in the house shifted her face, appearing in old family portraits, eyes pleading. One evening, a new letter arrived via mail, postmarked yesterday from the house. You're me now. Heart pounding, Clara burned the stack in the fireplace. Flames roared blue, screams echoing from the blaze. The house shook, walls cracked as shadows coalesced a woman, Lydia but decayed, eyes voids. You read them, she hissed, voice a chorus. Now you're trapped in the loop. Fight ensued. Clara salted the floor from occult forums, chanting banishment. Lydia dissolved, but not before whispering. The past writes back. Peace fell, but scars remain. Letters appear in drawers, postmarked future dates. Clara, we've been waiting. Eldridge Hollow's houses hold letters from the past. If one arrives dated wrong, burn it. Before it rewrites you. The cycle didn't end. Weeks later, in her apartment, Clara received a letter postmarked 2026 from Birch Lane. You thought you escaped. Panic returned. Lila, her friend, visited, saw the notes, and screamed her name scrawled inside. Lila vanished that night, her phone sending a photo of words on her wall. Lila, from the past. Clara's research uncovered more. A Quora thread on time-displaced letters linking to African folklore of spirits sending missives from beyond, trapping souls in loops. A YouTube video, True Horror, The Cursed Letter, recounted a family receiving notes from their future selves, warning of deaths that came true. Nights grew worse. Whispers evolved. Her voice, begging, burn me. Mirrors showed her face, aging rapidly, eyes darkening. The entity was a collective souls trapped by Lydia's ritual, binding them to letters, like Japanese yokai using paper as portals. Final stand, Clara returned to the house, salt and matches ready. The walls bled ink, words forming, "You're us." Lydia appeared, her form splitting into dozens past victims, all writing. Clara set the house ablaze, their screams echoing as flames consumed the words. But in her new place, letters arrive postmarked tomorrow. Clara, we've been waiting. The past writes back endlessly. Deeper dread. From Ballen's YouTube, a tale of letters from dead relatives predicting futures. The entity was a time parasite, feeding on timelines. Clara joined a support group, Survivors of Echo Letters, but one member voiced wrong. It's spreading. Hear a whisper? It's calling from the past. Burn the letter or become it. Global myths. Slavic Strigoi sending cursed notes. Polynesian spirits and missives. The house was a nexus. Lydia, its warden, freed by Clara's arrival. Final twist. Clara looks in mirror. Her handwriting appears on paper in her hand. Welcome home. She's the sender now, writing to her past self. If a letter comes from the past, you're already in the loop. The curse wasn't just Lydia's. From Poe's buried alive tales, Lydia was walled in alive, her soul trapped in the letters. Her note, the past writes to claim. Now Clara writes letters in her sleep, dated 1923, addressed to Lydia. The loop closes. In Eldridge Hollow, if you receive a letter from the past, to reply. Or it claims you. The backyard that's never silent. In the misty outskirts of Blackwood, Maine, where dense pines loomed like silent guardians and the fog muffled all but the most insistent sounds, the old farmhouse on Hollow Road had stood vacant for years. Locals whispered about it, tales of strange noises drifting from the backyard at night, like faint whispers or distant cries that never quite stopped. That yard's cursed, old-timers at the diner would say. But no one dared explain why. The house came cheap, a steal in the fall of 2025, when I, Elena Thorpe, a 5-year-old writer seeking solitude after a messy divorce, bought it sight unseen. The realtor, a nervous woman with darting eyes, rushed the paperwork. "Price to move," she muttered, avoiding questions about the previous owners. I dismissed the warnings as small-town folklore, much like the garden horror stories I'd read in a podcast transcript from Gardening Simplified, where neglected backyards hid invasive horrors that choked the life out of everything. The first week was idyllic. The house was cozy, with a wraparound porch and a sprawling backyard overgrown with wildflowers and ancient oaks. My golden retriever Max loved exploring, but he avoided the far corner a patch of uneven ground near a sagging fence, where the grass grew patchy and the air felt heavier. "Silly boy," I chided, but a chill prickled my skin when he whined at it. That night, as rain pattered the roof, I heard it the backyard wasn't silent. Faint murmurs drifted through the open window, like whispers in the wind, indistinct but persistent. I closed the sash, chalking it up to the storm, but sleep evaded me. The sounds grew. By the second night, the whispers coalesced into words my name, Elena, soft and pleading, like a child lost in the fog. Max barked furiously at the back door, refusing to step outside. Heart pounding, I grabbed a flashlight and ventured into the yard. The beam cut through the mist, revealing nothing but dew-kissed grass. But the ground hummed faintly under my feet, like distant voices buried deep. Drawing from a Reddit post I'd read on r/Ghost Stories, where a user described a creepy backyard experience with their puppy, sensing something invisible lurking, I wondered if Max knew what I did. Days blurred into unease. The whispers never stopped day or night, a constant murmur from the yard, growing clearer. Dig. Find us. Neighbors avoided my questions. One, an old man named Harlan, paled when I mentioned the sounds. "That yard's never quiet," he muttered, crossing himself. Pressed, he confessed a dark history. In the 1,950 seconds, the previous owner, a reclusive farmer named Elias Crow, vanished after his wife's accident. Rumors spoke of bodies buried in the backyard, salted to hide the crime, like in the true ghost story from DZIKIR's blog about a haunted basement tied to buried secrets. Curiosity turned to obsession. I researched online YouTube videos like 5 True Yard Work horror stories, recounted diggers uncovering bones or cursed objects, whispers rising from the earth. A BuzzFeed list of haunted places mentioned farms where ghosts of murdered workers haunted the grounds, their voices echoing eternally. One Outside Online article shared campfire ghost stories, including a tale of a haunted farm where cries came from the soil, luring the curious to dig. That evening, spade in hand, I attacked the patchy corner. Max whined from the porch, refusing to approach. The soil was loose, unnaturally soft. 2 feet down, my spade hit something hard, a rolled-up rug, stained and heavy. Heart thundering, I unrolled it. Bones tumbled out, human bleached white, with scraps of cloth from the 1,950 seconds. A skull grinned up, eyeless sockets staring, but as thunder rumbled, whispers loudened. "Thank you. Now join us." The ground trembled, hands pale, decayed burst from the soil, grasping my ankles. I screamed, kicking free, but more emerged figures in tattered clothes, faces twisted in agony, murmuring names of the lost. Elias buried us, one rasped voice like grinding earth. Drawing from the Facebook post on paranormal activity in backyards, where a user captured ghostly figures on camera after digging, I realized the yard was a mass grave workers Elias killed for his secrets, their voices silenced no more. I fled inside, barricading doors. The whispers became screams, pounding on windows. Max barked wildly as shadows slithered under the door, coalescing into Elias, gaunt, axe in hand, smiling. "The yard never quiets," he hissed. Fight ensued. I grabbed salt from the kitchen, from occult forums, scattering it. He shrieked, dissolving, but not before clawing my arm wounds, weeping dirt. Morning brought silence, but the yard hummed faintly. Police dug dozens of bones, unsolved murders. The house condemned, but I hear it still whispers in dreams. Dig deeper. In Blackwood, backyards speak. If yours never silence, don't listen. It's waiting to pull you under. The silence was deceptive. Weeks later, in my new apartment, Max began whining at walls. Faint whispers seeped from vents. Elena, panic returned. Lila, a friend who visited the house, called her voice wrong. The yard calls. She vanished, her backyard dug up, empty grave, whispers echoing. My research uncovered more. A Wattpad story, The Haunted House, where backyard ghosts lured with voices tied to buried curses. A BuzzFeed list of haunted places mentioned yards where cries never ceased, luring diggers to doom. From Outside Online's campfire tales, a ghost in the woods whispered from the ground, pulling victims under. Nights grew worse. The whispers followed phones, radios, friends' voices altered when calling. Dig us out. I salted my home, but shadows slithered in corners, forming hands. One night, the floor buckled, earth erupting, bony fingers grasping. Elias's form rose. The yard claims all. Escape failed. It pulled me under, dirt filling my lungs. Visions flashed. Elias burying victims, salting to trap souls, like an African folklore of earth spirits binding the dead. I clawed free, burning sage from paranormal guides. The entity shrieked, retreating, but whispers linger, faint, in every silence. Max hears them too. In Maine, yards speak. If yours whispers, fill it in, before it buries you. Deeper horrors emerged. From Ballen's YouTube, a tale of yard work uncovering haunted relics. The entity was a collective, souls salted, voices eternal. I joined a support group, Survivors of Whisper Yards, but one member voice, like Elias, it's spreading. Hear a murmur? It's calling from below. Dig, and you're silent no more. Global myths. Japanese yurei buried wrong, whispering revenge. Slavic domovoi in grounds, calling names. The yard was a nexus, Elias, its warden. Final twist. My reflection whispers, dig me out. I'm the vessel, yard rebuilding in my mind. If your backyard never silence, you're already buried. They greeted me at the cemetery. In the fog-shrouded town of Eldridge Hollow, Maine, where ancient pines loomed over crooked gravestones and the air carried the chill of unspoken tragedies, the old Hollow Hill Cemetery had long been a place of dread. Locals whispered of eerie happenings, red glowing eyes in the tree line, strange sounds from the graves, and a weeping angel statue that haunted groundskeepers. Tales like The Girl Who Stood on a Grave from childhood storybooks warned of dares gone wrong, where the dead pulled the living under. But for me, Alex Reed, a 8-year-old skeptic and amateur ghost hunter from the city, it was the perfect spot for a late-night adventure in October 2025. Armed with my camera and a flask of courage, I snuck through the rusted gates at midnight, the full moon casting silvery light on the overgrown paths. The cemetery was silent at first, save for the crunch of leaves under my boots. Tombstones tilted like drunken sentinels, names faded by time. Elias Crow, 1,895. Abigail Voss, taken too soon. I chuckled, recalling a Reddit thread where someone shared seeing a hand emerge from the dirt, pulling them down, a story echoed in Wattpad's The Cemetery with its weird sightings and chilling vibes. Just urban legends, I muttered, setting up my tripod near a crumbling mausoleum. That's when the whispers started faint, like wine through cracks. Hello. My heart skipped. I spun, camera rolling. Nothing. Anyone there? I called, half joking. The response came from behind a weathered cross. Welcome, Alex. My name, soft and childlike, but with a rasp like grinding earth. Chills raced down my spine, drawing from a YouTube compilation of true chilling graveyard horror stories from Reddit, where one tale described ghostly greetings leading to vanishings. I backed away. The voices multiplied a chorus from the graves. Hello, friend. Join us. We've been waiting. Red orbs glowed in the tree line, like the creepy encounter in that paranormal Reddit post. I panned the camera, capturing shadows shifting unnaturally. A hand burst from the soil near my feet, pale, veined nails caked with dirt grabbing my ankle. I screamed, kicking free, but more hands emerged, clawing the air. Greetings from below, they hissed. Voices layering like the phantom calls in Bachelor's Grove cemetery legends, where a white lady and broken tombs hid horrors. I ran, branches whipping my face, but the path looped impossibly, leading back to the angel statue. It wept blood now, head turning with a crack. Hello, Alex. Its stone mouth curved into a smile, eyes cracking open to reveal voids. Inspired by the Graveyard Hand short story, where a little girl's perspective unveiled a lurking terror, I realized the dead weren't resting, they greeted the living to pull them in. Trapped, I hid behind a mausoleum, camera capturing the horde-decayed figures rising, faces twisted in eternal grins, chanting greetings. "Join the party." They laughed, echoing the dare in The Girl Who Stood on a Grave, where a pinned girl was mistaken for a blade in the earth. A cold hand gripped my shoulder. "Hello, brother. My long-dead uncle vanished in these woods years ago." Fight or flight kicked in. I swung the tripod, shattering a figure's skull. It crumbled to dust, but more came. The angel loomed. "We've greeted you. Now stay." I bolted for the gates, whispers chasing. "Hello. Goodbye." Escaping, I collapsed outside, camera clutched tight. Back home, the footage went viral on YouTube, creepy cemetery encounter. But at night, knocks echo, 3 raps, then a whisper through the vents. "Hello, Alex." The dead greeted me, and they haven't stopped. In Eldridge Hollow, if you hear greetings from graves, don't reply. They're waiting to welcome you home forever. Laughter in the middle of the woods. In the heart of Blackwood Forest, Maine, where ancient pines stood like silent sentinels and the fog wove through branches like ghostly fingers, the woods were never truly quiet. Locals in the nearby town of Eldridge Hollow whispered of eerie sounds, whispers, cries, and most chillingly, laughter that echoed from the depths, especially near the cursed Black Hollow, a ravine where no one ventured after dark. Tales of the Laughing Man circulated, a figure from folklore who lured hikers with giggles before they vanished. Much like the spectral trickster in the Reddit r divided by no sleep story, The Laughing in the Woods. But for me, Mia Carter, a 30-year-old journalist chasing a story for my blog in October 2025, it was just a legend to debunk. I'd come to Blackwood to investigate a string of disappearances, hikers gone missing over decades. The latest, a local teen, Ethan, vanished 3 months prior. Armed with my recorder, flashlight, and skepticism, I hiked deep into the forest at dusk, the crunch of leaves underfoot my only companion. My friend Alex warned me, citing a YouTube video, True Horror: The Laughing Forest, where a camper recorded eerie giggles before his camera cut out. "Stay on the trail," he texted. I laughed it off, but the woods felt wrong too still, the air heavy with a metallic tang. An hour in, I reached Black Hollow, a yawning chasm swallowed by mist. That's when I heard it laughter, soft and childlike, bubbling from the ravine. "Hello?" I called, recorder on. The laughter grew, shifting to a deeper, guttural chuckle, like multiple voices layered. Mia. My name echoed, not from one direction, but all around. Heart pounding, I swung my flashlight, nothing but trees and fog. Drawing from the creepypasta What's in the Woods, where a creature mimicked voices to lure prey, I gripped my knife, pulse racing. The laughter intensified, now a cacophony, men, women, children, all giggling maniacally. Shadows danced in the mist, forming shapes tall, thin, with 2 long limbs. "Come play," a voice teased, mimicking Ethan's from a missing persons report I'd heard. I stumbled back, tripping over roots that seemed to writhe. My flashlight flickered, revealing a figure at the ravine's edge human-like, but its face was a blur, mouth stretched impossibly wide in a grin, like the smiling man from urban legends. I ran, branches clawing my face, but the laughter followed, echoing inside my skull. The trail looped unnaturally, leading back to the hollow. "You can't leave." The voices sang, layered with Ethan's and others, lost hikers. I realized, like the ghostly chorus in a Korra thread about haunted forests, where the dead laughed to trap the living. My recorder caught it, giggles turning to screams, then my name over and over. Desperate, I tossed salt from my pack folklore from a Medium article on banishing spirits suggested it repelled entities. The laughter faltered, but a hand cold, bony grabbed my ankle from the ground. "Join the fun," it rasped, pulling me toward the ravine. I slashed with my knife. The hand dissolved into mist, but more figures emerged. Dozens, faces blurred, laughing in unison. "We're the lost." They chorused, echoing a TikTok tale of a forest where laughter was a siren's call. I reached a clearing, an old stone circle etched with symbols like those in Lovecraft's tales of elder entities. A journal lay there, Ethan's pages scrawled with, "They laugh to keep you." The figures closed in, their grins splitting wider, revealing needle-like teeth. Inspired by a Ballen's YouTube story of a haunted woods where laughter masked hunger, I scattered more salt, chanting a banishment from occult forums. The figures shrieked, dissolving, but not before one whispered, "We'll laugh again." I escaped at dawn, recorder clutched tight. Back in Eldridge Hollow, I uploaded the audio, viral in hours, but comments chilled me. That's Ethan's laugh. At night, giggles echo outside my window from the woods I'll never enter again. Blackwood's laughter never stops. If you hear it in the trees, don't follow. They're waiting to add your voice to the chorus. The laughter didn't stay in the woods. Weeks later, in my Portland apartment, my recorder played back unprompted giggles, then my name, whispered through static. Max, my dog, growled at corners, where shadows flickered with blurred faces. A new email arrived, no sender, just audio, Ethan's voice laughing, saying, "Mia, come back." Panic set in. Drawing from a Wattpad story, The Laughing Hollow, where a forest spirit followed victims home, I feared it had latched onto me. Research deepened the dread. A Quora thread on haunted Maine forests linked Black Hollow to a 19th century cult that sacrificed hikers, their laughter trapped in the ravine, like Polynesian spirits binding souls to cursed grounds. A BuzzFeed list of haunted places mentioned a woods where giggles lured campers to vanishings. Friends noticed my fear. Alex called, voice off. "Why'd you run, Mia?" His number, but not his tone. Nights blurred. The laughter seeped from walls, my phone, even Max's collar speaker. Shadows danced, forming the grinning figure. Playtime, it giggled, eyes voids. I salted my apartment, but mirrors reflected it, me, but laughing when I screamed. Inspired by The Laughing Shadow from horror anthologies, where a mimic haunted reflections, I smashed my mirrors. Shards laughing back. Confrontation came in a dream? Or was it? The ravine opened in my room, figures emerging, all laughing. "You recorded us," they sang. I burned the recorder, salt circle tight, chanting banishment. They dissolved, screams fading. But my reflection giggles alone now, lips moving when mine don't. I fled to Boston, but the laughter follows faint. In crowds, on calls, Max hears it too. In Eldridge Hollow, the woods laugh. If you hear giggles in the dark, run. They're not human, they're hungry. The entity wasn't just laughter. From Ballen's YouTube, a tale of a forest where giggles masked a devourer. It was a collective souls trapped by the cult, their voices luring more. My dreams showed them. Ethan. Others. Faces stretched in endless mirth, trapped in the ravine's maw. I joined a paranormal forum, Survivors of Laughing Haunts. But one member's voice, Ethan's, it's spreading. My phone plays giggles unprompted. Friends hear me laugh on calls I never made. Final stand. I returned to Black Hollow. Salt and sage ready. The ravine pulsed, laughter deafening. The figure emerged me, grinning, teeth sharp. "You're ours," it laughed. I burned the journal, salt scorching the ground. It dissolved, but whispered, "We'll laugh through you." Global myths? Japanese yurei laughing from graves. Native American skinwalkers mimicking joy. Black Hollow was a nexus, feeding on mirth. Now I laugh in my sleep, friends say, "It's not me." My voicemails giggle, calling names. I'm the vessel spreading the sound. In Blackwood, if you hear laughter in the woods, don't listen. You'll join the chorus. From Poe's Tales of Madness, the laughter was a trap, binding souls eternally. My reflection laughs alone, eyes not mine. I'm writing this, but giggles interrupt my voice from within. If you hear laughter where none should be, it's too late. you're already theirs. Knocks from the coffin lid. In the misty valleys of Eldridge Hollow, Maine, where fog clung to the hills like a shroud and ancient pines whispered secrets of the past, the old Crow family cemetery lay forgotten on the outskirts of town. Gravestones tilted like drunken sentinels, names eroded by time and rain, Elias Crow, Abigail Voss, and others lost to history. The locals avoided it, crossing themselves at mentions of the knocking grave, a legend dating back to 1895, when Elias, a wealthy lumber baron, was buried after a sudden illness. Whispers spoke of his wife hearing knocks from his coffin during the funeral, but they buried him anyway. Inspired by Poe's The Premature Burial, where the terror of being interred alive haunted the living, the tale warned of curses for those who disturbed the dead. In October 2025, Harlan Reed, a 5-year-old historian researching Maine's forgotten tragedies, arrived in Eldridge Hollow. The town was a relic sagging porches, wary eyes in the diner. "Stay away from Crow Hill," the waitress muttered when I asked about the cemetery. Knocks still echo there. I laughed it off, but my research uncovered chilling accounts. A 1923 diary from Elias's descendant. Lydia, describing dreams of scratches from inside coffins, much like the Wattpad horror Buried Alive, where a man heard his wife's nails clawing the lid in a nightmare that turned real. Undeterred, I hiked to the cemetery at dusk, flashlight and recorder in hand. The air grew thick, fog swirling like breath from the ground. Elias's grave was central. Headstone cracked. Elias Crow, 1845 to 1895. Rest in peace. Kneeling, I pressed my ear to the earth, nothing but wind. Superstition. I scoffed, but as night fell, a faint thump echoed from below. Knock, knock, knock. My blood ran cold. "Hello?" I called, recorder on. The knocks grew insistent, rhythmic, like nails on wood. Panic surged. I dug with my hands, dirt flying, inspired by the true story of Eleanor Markham from Medium, almost buried alive in 1894, her knocks saving her. But here, the ground was loose, unnaturally soft. 2 feet down, my fingers hit the coffin-lid oak, splintered, with fresh scratches. "Help me." A rasped voice pleaded from within. Elias's, according to old descriptions, deep, commanding. I pried the lid with a branch, heart thundering. The coffin creaked open, revealing nothing. Empty, just dust and a yellowed note. "You heard the knocks, now you're mine." The ground trembled, hands pale, veined burst from surrounding graves, grasping my ankles. Figures rose decayed, eyes glowing like embers, laughing hoarsely. We knocked. They chorused, voices layering like the Ecuadorian woman in 2023 who knocked on her coffin during her wake, as reported on Reddit, only to die days later. I kicked free, running as the dead pursued, their knocks echoing like thunder. Join the chorus. Elias's form hissed, face sloughing. Drawing from the African Tokolosha folklore and Quora threads, where spirits knocked to claim souls, I realized the cemetery was a trap. The knocks summoned the living to fill empty coffins. Back in town, safe in my motel, knocks rapped on the door, 3 sharp, peephole empty. But my recorder played back. My voice knocking from inside a coffin, begging, "Let me out." Eldridge Hollow's graves knock still if you hear them in the night. Don't dig. The coffin is empty for a reason, and it's waiting for you. The knocks didn't stay in the cemetery. Weeks later, in my Boston apartment, Max, my dog, began whining at walls. Faint raps echoed from vents. Knock, knock, knock. Panic returned. My friend Mia called her voice off. I heard knocks at my door. She vanished. Her home dug up, empty grave in her yard. Knocks echoing. My research uncovered more. A YouTube video, True Horror, The Knocking Coffin, recounted a 19th century gravedigger hearing knocks from a buried man, only to find the coffin clawed inside, like Essie Dunbar's revival in 1903 from Scary for Kids Tales. But in Eldridge, the knocks were a curse, Elias buried alive by rivals, his spirit knocking to lure descendants, as in the small-town horror story from YouTube where a woman came back from the dead. Nights grew worse. The knocks migrated phones, radios, friends' voices altered when calling. Dig us out. I salted my home, but shadows slithered in corners, forming hands. One night, the floor buckled earth, erupting, bony fingers grasping. Elias's form rose. The coffin claims all. Escape failed, it pulled me under, dirt filling my lungs. Visions flashed, Elias buried alive, clawing out, cursed to knock eternally, like in the revived from apparent death story from pit.edu, where a ring led to exhumation and horror. I clawed free, burning sage from paranormal guides. The entity shrieked, retreating, but knocks linger faint. In every silence, Max hears them too. In Maine, graves speak. If yours knocks, fill it in. Before it buries you, deeper horrors emerged. From Ballen's YouTube, a tale of coffin knocks in a haunted mine. The entity was a collective souls buried wrong, knocking for release. I joined a support group, Survivors of Knocking Haunts, but one member's voice like Elias, it's spreading. Hear a rap, it's calling from below. Dig, and you're silent no more. Global myths, Japanese yurei knocking from graves, Native American spirits rapping warnings. Black Hollow was a nexus, Elias, its warden. Final twist, my reflection knocks. Let me out. I'm the vessel, coffin rebuilding in my mind. If your coffin knocks, you're already inside. From Poe's tales of premature burial, the knocks were madness incarnate. My hands scratch alone, digging in sleep. Friends say I knock on doors at night, voice not mine. In Eldridge, if you hear knocks where none should be, it's too late. You're buried. I found myself in an old photo album. In the quiet town of Ashwick, Maine, where fog draped the streets like a shroud and old houses creaked with secrets, I, Nora Hale, a 33-year-old freelance photographer, had returned to my childhood home. It was November 2025, and my mother had passed away, leaving me the task of clearing out her Victorian cottage on Willow Lane. The house was a time capsule, floral wallpaper peeling, air thick with dust and memories. My mother, an avid collector of antiques, had filled the attic with relics, chipped porcelain, moth-eaten dresses, and stacks of photo albums bound in cracked leather. I'd always loved her stories of our ancestors, but her later years were shadowed by ramblings about faces in the frames that no one took seriously. Sorting through the attic, I found an album unlike the others, black, heavy, with no label, its pages brittle as if untouched for decades. The photos inside were sepia-toned, dated from the 1,890 seconds to the 1,920 seconds, showing stern-faced relatives in high collars posing before painted backdrops. But one image stopped my heart. A group portrait from 1,923, labeled Ashwick Fair. Amid the crowd stood a woman, me. Same auburn hair, same sharp jaw, same scar on my left cheek from a childhood fall. She wore a flapper dress, but her eyes were wrong hollow, staring directly at the camera as if seeing me across time. My breath caught. I'd never been photographed like this. I wasn't born until 1992. Hands trembling, I flipped through more pages. There I was, again, 1,910, a child in a pinafore holding a rag doll. 1,905, a teenager in a bonnet, standing in this house's garden. Each photo showed me, but older ones grew stranger. My face blurred, eyes black voids, a faint smile that wasn't mine. Drawing from a Reddit r divided by no sleep post, the photo that shouldn't exist, where a man found himself in a 19th century portrait, I wondered if it was a prank. But the album's weight felt alive, pages warm to the touch. That night, sleep eluded me. The house groaned, and at 2 a.m., a whisper drifted from the attic. Nora. Soft, feminine, like my own voice, but distorted, echoing through the vents. Max, my terrier, growled at the stairs, refusing to climb. Inspired by a YouTube video, True Horror: The Haunted Album, where a family found photos predicting their deaths, I returned to the attic. The album lay open to a new page, a blank photo, developing before my eyes. It showed me, now, in the attic, staring at the album. My reflection in the mirror behind flickered, smiling when I didn't. Heart-pounding, I called my friend Mia. Old photos can't have me in them, right? She laughed, suggesting Photoshop or an ancestor's doppelganger, but her voice faltered when I sent a scan. Nora, burn it! It's like that creepy pasta about the cursed camera images trapping souls. I couldn't. The album felt like a tether to something I needed to understand. Days blurred into dread. Shadows moved in corners, forming my shape. Max whined at mirrors, where my reflection lagged, eyes darkening. Research revealed Ashwick's dark history. In 1923, a woman named Lila Voss, a photographer, vanished after an exhibit. Her diary, found in the town archives, spoke of a lens in the dark capturing her across time, like in Japanese yokai tales where spirits inhabited photos, stealing identities. A Quora thread on time-displaced images linked to similar cases, people appearing in photos before their birth, tied to cursed objects. One evening, a new photo appeared. Me, in a wedding dress, beside a faceless man, dated 1890. I'm unmarried. The album vibrated, whispering, "Join us, Nora." I slammed it shut, but laughter echoed mine, but cruel. Max barked at the attic hatch, which rattled as if something pushed from inside. Drawing from the burn photo creepypasta, where destroying cursed images unleashed horrors, I hesitated to burn it, fearing release. The climax came on a stormy night. Thunder shook the house as the album flipped open on its own, pages rapid-firing through decades, me in every era, always watching the camera. A figure materialized me, but pale, eyes voids, smiling too wide. "We're the same," she hissed, voice a chorus of trapped souls. "The album keeps us." Her touch was ice, draining warmth. Visions flashed. Lila's ritual, capturing spirits in a cursed camera, binding them to the album, like African folklore of ancestral ghosts trapped in objects. I grabbed salt from paranormal forums, circling the album. "Leave me!" I shouted, setting it ablaze. The figure shrieked, dissolving into smoke, but not before clawing my arm scars, forming a lens shape. The house stilled, but mirrors flicker my face, then hers, merging. I fled Ashwick, but photos appear on my phone, in emails me in eras I never lived. Whispers call, "You're framed." In Ashwick, albums hold faces that shouldn't be. If you find yourself in an old photo, burn it, before it captures you forever. The horror lingered. In my new Boston apartment, shadows danced in mirrors, forming my shape, but with hollow eyes. Max refused to sleep near reflective surfaces, growling at night. A new photo arrived by mail, no sender, postmarked 1900 from Ashwick, me screaming in a dark room. The back read, "You can't burn time." I contacted a local historian, Mr. Hale, who paled at the story. "Lila Voss wasn't alone," he whispered. Her camera was cursed, stole souls across generations. He showed me town records. Others vanished after finding themselves in photos, like a TikTok tale of a woman discovering her face in a 1920 seconds album, followed by hauntings. Drawing from The Picture of Dorian Gray, where a portrait bore the soul's sins, I feared the album was my tether to something eternal. Nights grew worse, my phone glitched, displaying selfies I never took me in sepia, eyes void. Calls came from unknown numbers. My voice, begging, "Don't look away." Mia visited, saw the photos, and screamed her reflection, showed Lila's face. That night, Mia vanished, her phone sending me a photo. Her in 1910 beside me, both smiling. Desperate, I returned to Ashwick, album ashes in hand. The house was sealed, but whispers beckoned from the attic. Inside, a new album waited, open to a photo of me burning the first dated tomorrow. "You're ours," the chorus hissed. The mirror showed dozens of me's from every era clawing to escape. I confronted the entity Lila's form, lens embedded in her chest like a heart. "The camera saw you before you were born," she rasped. Fight ensued. I smashed the mirror, shards cutting my hands, blood forming dates 1890, 1923, 2025. The entity dissolved, but not before whispering, "You're in the frame forever." Back in Boston, peace is fleeting. Photos appear in drawers me in eras unborn. Max stares at mirrors, whining. My reflection blinks when I don't. Ashwick's curse spreads friends, find old albums with their faces. If you see yourself in a photo you never took, destroy it. But it's already too late. Deeper dread unfolded. From Ballen's YouTube, a story of a cursed camera trapping souls in eternal loops. The album was a nexus, like Lovecraft's cosmic artifacts, binding lives across time. My research uncovered global myths. Japanese obake in photos, stealing identities, African spirits in ancestral images, demanding worship. Mia's body was found in Ashwick, smiling in an old photo frame, dated 1800s. I joined a paranormal forum, others reported similar albums, faces appearing where none should. One user vanished after posting, "It's me in 1920, I'm next." Final stand. I burned every mirror in my apartment. Salt circling me. The entity appeared me, but decayed. Lens eyes glowing. "You're framed." It laughed. I chanted banishment from occult texts, scattering ashes. It dissolved, screaming dates future ones. But my camera rolls fill with photos me in eras yet to come. Whispers. Look at the frame. I'm trapped. My face in every old album. If you find one, don't look. You might see yourself unborn, but waiting. The curse wasn't just Lila's. From Poe's tales of premature burial, I learned she was buried alive, her soul trapped in the camera's first photo. The album rewrote reality, inserting victims into history. Now I develop photos in my sleep me, in wars, plagues, futures. Friends receive albums with my face, calling their names. I'm the vessel framing others. In Ashwick, check old photos. If you're in one, unborn, you're already hers. Someone wrote on my bedroom wall, "In the small, fog-laden town of Greystone, Maine, where ancient pines cast long shadows and whispers of old tragedies lingered in the air, my new home on Cedar Lane was supposed to be a sanctuary." I, Emma Carter, a 31-year-old illustrator, had moved here in the fall of 2025, seeking solitude after a draining divorce. The house was a century-old cottage, its clapboard exterior